Welcome to History with Herodotus, where we embark on a journey through the ages, exploring the intricacies of human history and the profound impact of pivotal events on our world. Today, we delve into the fascinating story of the Marshall Plan, a visionary initiative that reshaped the post-war landscape of Europe and left an indelible mark on the course of modern history. The continent lay in ruins, its cities reduced to rubble, its economy shattered, and its people struggling to survive amidst the devastation. It was against this backdrop of despair that a beacon of hope emerged in the form of a bold plan conceived by the United States Secretary of State, George Marshall. To understand the genesis of the Marshall Plan, we must first examine the tumultuous events that preceded it. As the war drew to a close, the Allied powers found themselves grappling with the daunting task of rebuilding and stabilizing the war-torn regions of Europe. The Soviet Union, under the leadership of Joseph Stalin, had begun to exert its influence over Eastern Europe, while the United States and Great Britain sought to promote democratic values and economic recovery in Western Europe. In the spring of 1947, George Marshall, a seasoned statesman and diplomat, embarked on a trip to Moscow where he participated in a meeting of the Council of Foreign Ministers. The conference aimed to address the pressing issues of post-war reconstruction, including the rehabilitation of Germany and the reparation of war damages. However, the negotiations ultimately proved fruitless, as the Soviet Union's intransigence and the United States' growing concerns about communist expansion created an unbridgeable divide. Upon his return to Washington, Marshall began to contemplate a more comprehensive approach to European recovery. He recognized that the continent's economic woes were not merely a consequence of war damage, but also a result of deeper structural issues, including a severe shortage of food, coal, and other essential resources. Marshall's vision was to create a program that would not only provide immediate relief, but also foster long-term economic growth, stability, and cooperation among the nations of Europe. As Marshall pondered the contours of his plan, he drew inspiration from the lessons of history, including the experiences of the United States during the Great Depression and the New Deal programs implemented by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He also sought counsel from a diverse group of experts, including economists, diplomats, and politicians, who shared his commitment to European recovery and his concern about the spread of communism. One of Marshall's closest advisors was William Clayton, the Under-Secretary of State for Economic Affairs, who had played a key role in shaping American economic policy during the war. Clayton's expertise in international trade and finance proved invaluable as Marshall began to flesh out the details of his plan. Together, they worked tirelessly to craft a proposal that would address the complex web of economic, political, and social challenges facing Europe. As the summer of 1947 approached, Marshall's plan began to take shape, and on June 5, 1947, he delivered a landmark speech at Harvard University outlining his vision for European recovery. In this seminal address, Marshall emphasized the need for a comprehensive program that would not only provide financial assistance, but also foster economic cooperation and integration among the nations of Europe. He stressed that the United States was willing to offer significant support, but it was up to the Europeans to take the lead in shaping their own destiny. The Harvard speech marked a turning point in the development of the Marshall Plan, as it galvanized public opinion and sparked a flurry of diplomatic activity. In the weeks that followed, European leaders began to respond to Marshall's call, and on July 12, 1947, a conference of 16 European nations convened in Paris to discuss the details of the plan. This gathering, known as the Conference of European Economic Cooperation, was a crucial milestone in the evolution of the Marshall Plan, as it brought together representatives from across the continent to forge a collective response to the economic challenges facing Europe. One of the key figures at the Paris conference was Ernest Bevin, the British Foreign Secretary, who played a pivotal role in shaping the European response to Marshall's initiative. Bevin, a seasoned diplomat with a deep understanding of European politics, worked tirelessly to build support for the plan among his fellow Europeans. He recognized that the Marshall Plan offered a unique opportunity for Britain to reaffirm its position as a leader in European affairs and to promote cooperation with other nations. As the Paris conference progressed, the participants began to hammer out the details of the Marshall Plan, including the establishment of a new organization, the Organization for European Economic Cooperation, OEEC. which would oversee the distribution of American aid and coordinate economic policies among the participating nations. The OEEC was formally established on April 16, 1948, with its headquarters in Paris, and it quickly became the primary vehicle for implementing the Marshall Plan. In the months that followed, the Marshall Plan began to take concrete shape as the United States Congress approved the necessary legislation and funding. On April 3, 1948, President Harry Truman signed the Foreign Assistance Act, which authorized $12.4 billion in aid to European nations over a 4-year period. This landmark legislation marked a major milestone in the history of American foreign policy, as it committed the United States to a long-term program of economic assistance and cooperation with Europe. As the Marshall Plan began to roll out across Europe, it had a profound impact on the lives of ordinary people. In Germany, for example, American aid helped to fuel an economic miracle as the country rapidly rebuilt its industry and infrastructure. In France, the Marshall Plan supported a major program of modernization and investment, which helped to transform the nation's economy and cement its position as a leader in European affairs. In Italy, the Marshall Plan played a crucial role in supporting the country's fragile democracy, as American aid helped to stabilize the economy and promote social cohesion. As Alcide de Gasperi, the Italian Prime Minister, observed, the Marshall Plan was not just an economic program, it was a political and moral imperative which helped to restore hope and confidence among the Italian people. As the Marshall Plan continued to unfold, its impact became increasingly evident across Europe. By the early 1950s, the continent was experiencing a period of unprecedented economic growth, with industrial production soaring and trade flourishing. The plan's emphasis on cooperation and integration had helped to foster a sense of unity among European nations, laying the groundwork for the eventual creation of the European Union. One of the key milestones in the conclusion of the Marshall Plan was the establishment of the European Payments Union, EPU, in 1950. The EPU was a multilateral clearing system that allowed European countries to settle their trade balances with one another, facilitating the growth of intra-European trade and further integrating the continent's economies. As the EPU's first director, Hubert Anciot, noted, the European Payments Union was a decisive step towards the creation of a single European market, as it enabled countries to overcome the constraints of bilateralism and to engage in multilateral trade. As the Marshall Plan drew to a close, its legacy began to take shape. The plan's success had demonstrated the potential for international cooperation and economic development, inspiring similar initiatives around the world. In Europe, the Marshall Plan had helped to create a sense of shared purpose and identity, laying the foundations for the continent's future growth and integration. Today, the Marshall Plan is remembered as a landmark moment in modern history, a testament to the power of visionary leadership and international cooperation. As George Kennan, one of the plan's architects, reflected, the Marshall Plan was a bold and imaginative effort to shape the course of European history, and its impact will be felt for generations to come. The plan's emphasis on economic development, cooperation, and integration has inspired countless initiatives and institutions, from the European Union to the International Monetary Fund. The plan's legacy can be seen in the modern European economy, with its emphasis on cooperation, integration, and economic development. It can also be seen in the global economy, where international institutions and initiatives continue to promote economic growth and stability. The Marshall Plan's conclusion marked the beginning of a new era in European history, one characterized by unprecedented peace, prosperity, and cooperation. The Marshall Plan may be a relic of the past, but its impact will continue to shape our world for generations to come. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.